Good afternoon. I am Tony Dattino doing my Saturday afternoon live with Tony broadcast. And today I was just reading last night the latest issue. This is the September issue of Discover magazine. September issue, Discover magazine. And as I'm reading it, I had to share some of this information with my live with Tony audience today. I was fascinated. I've read a number of studies and stories and seen research on when we are under stress and anxiety, the importance of trees and bushes and plants and vegetation, flora, as it relates to reducing our stress and our anxieties. And this particular issue of Discover magazine, it's the special 40th anniversary issue. So it's a special 40th, and they've had things like microprocessors 40 years ago and where they've come today, space launches and our search for the planets and things of that sort, different things on robotics and things. So I come along, and here's an article on patients begin to want to be the patients in hospitals. So God, I'm just so excited about this. I want to net this out. Patients in hospitals that have the ability to look out into greenery, pine trees, oak trees, green trees, a forest or a walking path, grass, have shorter recovery times and a less need for pain medication. And I've read that and read that and read that. And so here I am reading the September, October issue of Discover, and here I find out that this goes back to 40 years ago. Now, what's disappointing is it goes back to 40 years ago and how little we still know about it and its impact on our stresses, anxieties, phobias, and how it can help us. And as we're in this period of COVID-19, it really, I think it's important. I've shared that a number of times with my Live with Tony audience, and now comes the history behind it, and I just was excited to want to share it. It's like this hidden, simple discovery that can make a world of difference, and I just want to at least address that to you and how it impacts my life and what I look for. And it's just been almost an innate thing when I've been in periods of even sometimes stress, anxiety, depression, or light depression, how I've wanted to go back to what I call trees and streams. I want to go back to a stream on a walking trail, or I want to find a waterfall, or I want to walk in a forest or a hiking trail that takes you through trees and plants and things of that sort. So here it goes. It was done by a PhD student at the University of Michigan back in 1979. So we're going back to the University of Michigan, 1979, and a PhD student is doing a project where he was testing, let's give him the right credit. It was a Roger Ulrich, Roger, U-L-R-E-I-C-H, Roger Aldrich, and he is doing a paper and study on human human spatial behavior. So his topic was human spatial behavior, and what he wanted to do is find out for students that lived in the same subdivision, so they lived in the same area, would they take an expressway with a speed limit of 70 miles an hour, or would they drive taking local roads, meaning a back highway or a back avenue roadway to get to the mall? And if they were going to take the back roads, it would take them twice as long to get to the mall. And now we're talking about 15-minute increments here. So we're talking 15 minutes or 20 minutes or 30. And so he was surprised to find out, given the students the choice of either taking the expressway, which would get them there in half the time, or take the back street hills and through the mountain areas. What would the students prefer? And he was shocked to find out. Here he goes. The subjects all live in the same division. The findings were they were shocking. It was one of the few studies to provide hard evidence for the value people would place on natural scenery. The value that people would place on natural scenery, which is in our brain health. We talk about what are the things that we want to do in our Brain Power series that we have. What are things we do that maximize our mental capacities and our overall brain health? And this turns out to be influential in terms of patients that are in hospitals. And it goes on to discuss about the design of hospital rooms and how the design of hospital rooms and what the windows in a room might look at that can enhance a patient's recovery, shorten it, and reduce their demand for pain meds, which we know we try to minimize as much as we can. And so in his initial work here, he was shocked to find out of the difference of the students that wanted to take the local roads, even though it would take a bit longer. Now, there could be a whole lot more behind it, but when asking the students in the subdivision why they take the local roads, they all said because they like the scenery. And I know when I'm driving to new destinations, or if I can go through farm country and I can see trees, or I can see farms and growth and plants and things, versus just speeding along on a highway. Again, it depends on if the drive's 4 hours or the drive is 4 hours, I'm going to double it, versus it's 2 hours or a half hour and I'm going to spend 45 minutes. So there are other factors here. I don't want to oversimplify this. But seeing the natural trees, the greenery, the grass, mountains, Earth's natural scenery. So then he does a study on this. So he continues his research at the University of Delaware. So now he went from Michigan and went on further studies at the University of Delaware, where he dove deeper into the outdoor landscapes and how it affects moods and emotions. And what he did is he showed a series of slides to college students who had just taken a long exam. So he gave them slides, and half the students showed them everyday natural scenes, pictures of trees and fields, while the other half viewed images of streets and buildings, skylines, and urban environments. And he found a significant difference in the emotional calmness of the students that saw natural scenery versus students that were looking at buildings and brick and mortar. So that work subsequently went to hospitals in the design of hospital rooms. And I know from the hospital work that I've done, when patients, it's amazing when patients are what they call repeat patients in hospitals that have windows that look out on trees or lakes or ponds or scenery. Patients in the ED will actually ask their physician, can I get the windows or the rooms with the views out on the trees or the ponds? And I've seen that over and over again in my work I've done in ED departments inside of hospitals. So now I was excited to see the background to it right here, and understanding that this study goes on and on and on, because it then reflects on, so what they're designing, they're trying to design in hospital rooms, are windows that allow patients to look out into nature and its natural landscapes. So then, subsequently to that, we purchased a house in Windermere, Florida, 2.5 years ago, and just walking out to the back of the house and looking at pine trees and other trees and bushes, and some of them may be weed trees even, and a pond. I will go out and sit on the back of the porch, Marla and I will sit there, breakfast and dinner, and sometimes just sit there for 20 minutes after and just stare at the movement of the pine trees. And it's just so relaxing and so reducing of my stress levels. And I've even gone to the point of where I look at nature's scenery, natural scenery of nature's. So I have pictures that we've purchased that I always love what I call mountains and streams and waterfalls and brooks, my calendar that I use to keep track of days and whatever. It's got to have scenery. I'm a scenery guy, you know. And so I have discovered more and more that when we are looking to enhance our brain health and deal with our emotions of stress, anxiety, etc., just looking at pictures of scenery are amazing. And last but not least, having plants in your house. So I'm not a plant person, right? But there's a plant we got as a gift recently. And I could sit on the sofa and I can look at that plant and just look at its different leaves and branches and growth, and it's mesmerizing. So here's my tip for you for the weekend. If any of you are in that stress mode of any sort, and you've got that anxiety and you're wondering when is this going to end, when will we have this quarantining easier, I've got kids that have got to get to school in the next couple of weeks and you're stressing and you're anxiety about it, go find some scenery on your laptop. Go pull up some mountain sceneries and go look at some pictures. I know sometimes on the front page of my laptop there are sceneries with water and streams and mountains and play. And I can just stare at it and not even want to log into my work. Find something that's got some greenery and natural settings. If you're in a neighborhood that has a chance to go walk around and stare at some grass and trees and plants and bushes, give it a go. See how you feel about it. And send me a note back and let me know how that works for you. Until then, have a nice weekend. It's Saturday afternoon. I'm back on Monday night at 7. I'll be picking up mail today, so I'll have some new periodicals and issues and things to go read tomorrow, and be excited about getting back with you on Monday. So until then, it's dottino@aol.com, and look forward to hearing from you. Comments, I love getting comments and seeing them on Facebook as well as through my personal email. So have a good weekend. We'll see you on Monday at 7.